Okay. Nothing to it but to do it. Don't know why I said that. Hi. I'm going to get kicked off right away today. Uh, Lots to do. We got a million things to make. I may have bitten off more than I can chew. Some of these things may fall through the cracks, but we're going to give them a go anyways. I'm going to attempt turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, Brussels sprouts, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, gravy. Oh, and a pumpkin mousse for dessert. Uh, we're going to go until I'm either too hungry to keep going or I give up. Uh, um, so yeah, that's the plan. First things first, get that oven preheating to 350. Two kinds of potatoes. I'm making a feast. I'm making all sorts of stuff. I'll pack up any leftovers that I end up having, bring with me. But the idea here is I'm going to make a feast for one, as opposed to a feast for many. Um, so we're aiming for, and I only had breakfast today, so I'm prepared to potentially pig out on this. But the goal here is to attempt a feast for one, because that's something that seems very difficult. Is doing the Thanksgiving dinner when you aren't cooking for a whole group, because a lot of these recipes, a lot of these basic recipes, lend themselves to big quantities. I've got a couple of shortcuts that I think I'm going to pull, but yes, lots to do. Oven preheating. Let's we're gonna do a roast turkey. We're gonna do all these things. Um, Boy, I wish I had been going last year. I think it was last year. I did a thing. Um, I broke down a whole damn turkey. That was a lot of work. This year I bought an individual turkey thigh, or possibly two, but I think it's just one. Um, and I can tell you about why I've selected a thigh while I get into it and start preparing it. And it's going to go in a. Actually, should we start with that? Or should we start with the trivet? Well, I got to get it out of there anyways. Um, unless I want to start with the trivet. Let's get over to the countertop. Bam. Turkey thighs. So, fun fact: this time of year, there's a lot of whole turkeys in the grocery store, ready for Thanksgiving. They also do sectioned off turkey breasts for people who just want the white meat. But that means that for every one of those that they cut off separately, they have other parts of the turkey. And those other parts get packaged up too and sold, and they're somewhere nearby, and they're much more affordable than the big guys. And the portion sizes are also much more reasonable. I know the meat takes longer, but the trivet would go underneath the meat to catch the drippings in lieu of turning them into a gravy. That's why I was considering prepping the trivet first. Vegetable trivet. I don't have my little cutter, my little clipper. I guess we'll do this with a knife. Um, but if you want turkey, you don't want one of those big ass turkeys, look around near the turkey and you might just find parts. I have specifically selected a thigh because I think it is the easiest part to cook. Dark meat, what the hell's happening to this plastic? Uh, Dark meat is easier harder to overcook. White meat tends to dry out, and one of the problems with cooking a whole any bird is that you have to strike that balance between the. Well, there are two in here. Neat. Felix, you are first. You're cooking a whole bird. You have to strike that balance between the white meat and the dark meat, because the white meat will dry out often before the dark meat is even ready to go. Looks like there are two in here, but they're kind of bound up in each other. If I pull them apart this way. But see, that's a much more reasonably sized piece of meat for one. It's still going to be a very healthy portion for a nice feast, but we aren't going to fight with this giant bird. Yeah, smells like raw turkey. Since I've got two of them, I think I only want to do one, and I'll freeze this extra one. I thought it was going to be one big one, but I ended up getting one medium one and one kind of shrimpy one. So I'm going to save that kind of shrimpy one. Let me wash my hands because I have raw. Again, we're trying to do a feast for one. You may notice there's a bone in there too. I'm going to leave the bone in there. It's going to add to the flavor and also help balance out the cooking a bit. The bone will heat up and help heat up the meat around it. Washing my hands because I'm going to touch things that aren't the turkey, and then I'm immediately going to go back and touch the turkey. But yeah, we've got a heck of a lineup. So the idea of a trivet is that I'll put some vegetables down underneath this in the roasting pan. So while it's roasting, the drippings will fall into the vegetables, and they will soak up the drips, and the drips will flavor them. And my goal was to do the sweet potatoes down there and do roast sweet potato underneath my piece of turkey. The piece of turkey is a little bit smaller than I expected because like I said, I didn't think there were two in there. So quick reassessment. I'm gonna push that to the side. Dealing with raw bird is always a little bit of a challenge. And I should do, while I'm washing my hands real quick, wash this knife that I used just so that it's not hanging out and I touch it with something else later down the line after I've forgotten that it had raw turkey on it. And who knows, we might stumble over our words a whole bunch. We might need that knife later. So the sweet potato I've got is a big one. It's this guy. I'm expecting to have extra of that, but is my pan going to be too big now? I was going to do it in this one. I think it is ultimately. I could probably squash in the sides with a roll of foil, maybe. We'll set that to the side for a sec. Get out the non-bird cutting board. Move the turkey out of the way. Let's get this guy chopped up. So I'm ultimately glad I went to look at the turkey before I dove in on this part. So I like sweet potato and I like regular mashed potato. And I tend to think of them as different, like entirely different things. I'm gonna leave the skin on because it's gonna go in the oven. I think the skin will end up crisping up like a roast, like a baked potato. I think. I hope. Okay. So if I get cubes about that size, let's see what this part looks like inside. Okay, that one's a little bit gnarly. We're gonna put them on the tray here as I chop them and see how much it fills up. To judge if I need to add spacers or perhaps another ingredient even just to take up some space. A vegetable trivet is a classic method from like medieval cooking times. When you wanted when you were a peasant and you couldn't afford to have any of the food you had go to waste, and that includes the bits that drip off the bottom of your roasting meat that you managed to get a hold of. But it does make for some fine flavoring as well. So it's not just a trivets, not just for peasants anymore. The term trivet also refers to the thing you put a hot plate on when you're. Well, that'll be good. That should be fine. We'll just let them have some room on the sides. This is also a trivet, except they're usually made of wire, but it's a hot thing to put hot stuff on so it doesn't hit the bottom. It's just the idea is just a lift for hot things. Okay. The potatoes, I'm going to give a little shleem of oil. And also I want to put foil on the tray here before I actually cook. So the potatoes technically don't need as much time as the turkey does to roast. If I was doing a whole potato, it would probably take longer, but I'm not, so it's not. So they might end up a little bit over, but that also might be mitigated because the turkey piece is a little bit smaller than I was aiming for. They should caramelize nicely and develop a chewy exterior with that nice, soft, squidgy interior that cooked sweet potatoes get. And with luck, these skin pieces will also crisp up. We'll have a nice, varying texture in these when we're done. The oven is going to be serving multiple duty today. these guys down. We're going to hang on to that bowl because I'm going to toss another thing in it. So let's get these potatoes flattened out. Okay. Okay. Potatoes. My hands are very oily. I just need to wipe the oil off real quick. All the elements here are very classic I'm going for today. Except for one. I have one thing that is my own creative twist of nonsense. Salt these guys. Make sure there's at least a little bit of salt on them before the rest of this nonsense happens to them. Bring back our turkey. So normally you'd have the vegetables would fill the tray, and your chicken or something would be also quite large. This whole thing is scaled down, which is a little dubious on. We're also going to take this turkey's temperature when it's ready, because I don't trust American poultry industry to not poison me. That's a ringing endorsement. Let's set this. We're gonna switch sides. We're gonna move the wooden board away so that it does not get turkey all over it. We're gonna switch these guys' sides. I'm gonna see how hard it is to get up under the skin here. Because if you can get up under the skin and oil it or butter it, the skin will go crispy. That's how you get a crispy skin on a roast bird. I'm sure there are other ways, but that's the way I know how to get a crispy skin on a roast bird, is to get up under there, as much room as you can. It'll hold on, but there's definitely places where you can get it to give you some give. Yeah. And then we realized that my hands are all covered in schmutz, and I did not get out my pre-cut section of butter. So we'll wash our hands real quick again. I have another surprise that I hope works for later on. You'll see it either way, whether it works or not. You will see it. So I won't even spoil it now. I've been experimenting. We can also do a checkup on that tuna a little bit later. You'll recall I put in some tuna to be salted right at the end of the show last time. Okay, I'm back. Why is my camera dark? Oh, because of reflections from the thing. I need to buy new cameras. I need budget for new cameras. I didn't pre-soften this butter, so I'm just going to soften it with my hand right now. Take that little bit of paper off. And we're going to get it up inside there. Come on, butter. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. We're going to butter the inside of our turkey skin and the outside with my hand. May as well butter that bottom while we're at it. It's Thanksgiving. You can add butter to everything because this is the crazy American feast day. Which is why we're having buttered turkey, and later on we're having baconed vegetables, sugar potatoes. I'm going to take the remainder of that because it's got turkey all over it. I'm actually going to plunk it right under there and let it be in there. That's going to be a thing. It'll melt out and hopefully not do anything weird. Okay. Got to bring this guy back without touching it. And then take our thigh. I'm going to just kind of plunk it in the middle. You guys can't quite see it. I'm going to wash my hands before I do anything else, because this should be the last moment that I need to touch the turkey directly until after it is cooked. I would be adding butter to the... I know. I'll do this right now, too. You guys can look at the thing I've made. This should be the last moment of raw turkey time. And then I can stop worrying about washing my hands every other minute, every time I touch something. And we might even be able to use this board again later for another step down the line. As with most Thanksgiving dinners, I intend to use the oven quite heavily today. So we're going to prepare things and stick them in there, and then pull them out as we assemble our feast. So a lot of the things are going to be cooked out of sight. Anyways, let's hope that's not turkey dripping. Let's clean it up either way. It doesn't smell like turkey. Okay, this guy is going to go in to start with. We have preheated our oven to 350. Turn this light off so I'm not super backlit anymore. Part 2. Yeah, we'll do part 2 this. I had an end of a bread that I dried out. I just cut it into chunks and let the chunks sit on a plate over in the other room there. Until they got dry. They're not fully hard dry, but they're most of the way there. And take them into some smaller pieces. This was much cheaper. I saw the local grocery store was selling bags of dried bread for stuffing for $5. They were selling loaves of bread, same size, for $3. Waste of money to buy the pre-dried stuff. I am also, as we go through today, there are a few things I'm just using up because I will be leaving town for the actual Thanksgiving Day. And I'd rather not leave things and hope they're still good when I get back. Now, I've never made stuffing from scratch before. So I think I have the basic concept. It's essentially wet bread that you bake until it's not wet, right? It's flavored wet bread. Should put that in a bowl. Should put that in a bowl instead of on a plate. We can then capture all these dust. I'm curious what I'll do too, because I have a basic concept of what stuffing is. Well, I believe that's an accurate description of stuffing. It's wet bread. It needs flavors in it, though. So, here's one of the things I intend to use up. I have the tail end of celery. Which I'm going to use up. Half an onion, and I'll also use the other half of said onion. Later on in the day. I'm going to pre-saute the vegetables before I mix them into the wet bread. Before the bread is wet. Larger pan. Okay. Pan. Once again, butter. I did not directly notice that there was a massive butter shortage, despite the rumors of doom and gloom that I heard leading up to Thanksgiving about there being a doom and gloom butter shortage. Take that little knob off the bottom. If we take the leaves off, we can probably just chop this little bit up and toss it in there too. The leaves are, of course, perfectly edible, and there's even some extra stem in there. I'm just going to take this dried up bit off the top. The leaves will cook much, much faster than the stem parts. So if you want to work with the leaves, take them off. So I don't. Here's a fun fact. I'm not working with any recipes today. We're working with how I think these things are supposed to work. I might mince up the celery and throw it directly into the bread as well. Get half an onion ready. Put the celery leaves up there until I've committed to whatever I'm committing to with them. Uh, I thought I was supposed to start with dry bread. Well, I'm not sure what the difference is. That's what I'm doing now. The onion and the celery are being chopped up so they can be sauteed on the stove. Over there, where I've got a pat of butter melting, because I don't think they're going to cook super well. This isn't stale. I just cut it and let it dry today, so it's actually not even fully dry. It's got a little bit of a give to it, but it's hard on that side, so it's kind of half dried. I also know that you're supposed to add wet to your wet bread. I'll get my tap water as hot as it'll go, because I don't really want to boil extra water for this. Hot water, and we're going to use the old classic cheat, bouillon cubes. Several people decided to dispose of bouillon cubes and immediately thought of me and handed me a bunch of bouillon cubes. So I have tons of these things that I didn't buy myself. And I would not have bought, but I've been using them since I've got them. They're quite hard. I've seen some people like break them with their fingers before they put them in the water. My butter is bubbling, so let's go over to the stove real quick while that bouillon cube gets its act together. Onions, celery. Toss them around. Pinch of salt. Look disapprovingly at that bouillon cube starting to dissolve. While the vegetables are getting started, I'm going to remember that I need some sage, and I'm going to walk into the other room, retrieving my tiny scissors, and moving on towards the herbs at the front, where I have some sage, and this will be the last harvest I think I get of the sage. It's not dying, but I think it's going to have a hard time. It's really reaching for the sun, so I don't want to stress it out for the rest of the winter, probably. We'll take a few little bits of it off. What other herbs? What other herbs do you think go in this? What other herbs? I'm going to ask Google. Herbs for stuffing. Traditional herbs and stuffing. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Well, I think we're headed back to the front window because I have 2 more of those in the front. Let's toss this around real quick. And I have parsley in the refrigerator, so I can do all 4 of those. And we can sing the song that I can't remember the melody to. The thyme is doing very well, as it usually seems to do, until like March when it just suddenly dies, and I never know why. Um, hoping the thyme will pull through this year. We'll see. We'll find out together. Okay, these are looking well started. This bouillon cube is dissolving, but slowly. Okay. Back over here. We've got some sage leaves. We've got some rosemary that I'm going to pull the leaves. Well, actually, some rosemary would have been good on the turkey, I think. I could have tucked it under the skin. If you don't have a rosemary, live rosemary plant, I suggest why not get one? They're super easy to take care of. I've had this one for years and years. I never do anything to it aside from water it. And fresh rosemary is just delightful. And this is thyme. Thyme, if you know how to take care of it, which I don't, but if you know how to take care of it, I also recommend thyme. Same reason. I keep killing mine, and I don't know why. Let's actually get a spatula and push these vegetables around a little bit. That's probably good. Turn the heat off. They can finish off for a sec there while I mince up these herbs. Do I want the parsley, or do I want to just stick with the celery tops? I also have a question for you, because I've heard of putting egg in the stuffing, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea. I think it'll make it too stuck together. I feel like that'll make it too stuck, like bound together, and it won't have that sort of loose, stuffingy, the way I think of stuffing, at least. Extra thyme. Okay, well. Okay, well, I too shall pass on it on your advice, your specific advice. Get those sauteed vegetables in there, along with the butter that they were in. Can't go wrong with a little bit of extra butter. Okay. And this thing, I know you're supposed to put it in boiling water, but oop, tiny whisk, you're there you go, falling apart a little bit. I'm gonna put this in the microwave real quick because it was just tap water hot. It wasn't boiled. And I think that might be why it's dissolving so slowly. So we're just gonna give it a shot. Heat it up. Hopefully that will kickstart now I've heard of raisins in stuffing. And I saw cheap raisins. So I'm going to put some raisins in my stuffing. I don't know if it's typical, but here we go. They'll bring some sweetness for sure. And I just got these little like individual raisin box, so I can just open one and go raisins, and then have snacking raisins. Oop. If you want to mix your stuff like that, be sure you're careful with it. Stuff will go flying if you are too aggressive. Are we dissolved? I think that worked. I don't see a little chunk in there anymore. Perfect. Oh, there is a little chunk in there. Little chunk. I can only. Oh. It's gotten so small I can pick it up with the whisk. Because of that, I'm going to give it one more minute, and we can throw more seasoning at our stuffing, and I can get out the container that I'm planning on baking it in, because we have to bake it. Raisins and apples. I'm not putting apples in it. Nuts to your apples. But we could put nuts in it. Oh. This container might be too big, but that we're going to have a shallow layer of the stuff here with lid on it. So we'll have more crispy tops than I think we're intended to. It should help it cook a little bit faster too. Let's see. Let's throw some black pepper in there. You can never go wrong with some black pepper. Throw a pinch of salt. Although there's going to be salt in the wet part of our wet bread. Here's the wet. It's steaming now. Steaming wet. Stir vigorously until that little cube finally gives up and stops being a little cube. I can see it flying around in there still. I think a cup is probably too much for the amount of bread I've got too. That's probably a... how much? Stock in stuffing. A little at a time. Okay. Well, that's a good method in general. Hashtag tiny whisk. I don't think I see it in there anymore. Do I? Oh, just a tiny little crumb. I'm going to call that good enough and start adding it a bit at a time. The idea here is to make the bread wet, but not like swimming. Maybe a cup's just right. It smells good. It's already starting to smell like stuffing to me. Everything's bigger on TV. The camera adds, what is it, 20 pounds? I think I'm going to need more. I think I want this to be soggy, especially since it's going to be in a comparatively thin layer. You add lots of liquid. Okay. Well, I've already added lots of liquid, so we can't take it out now. But might be a little bit soggier than I think I'm used to, but that'll be fine. We'll stick it in the dish. Lost a little bit there. Stick in the dish. As I've said several times now, we're going to have a thin layer, which will help it cook faster, help it dry out a little bit more, and also give us more of the craggly tops. So I'm actually going to start it with the top, with the lid on, to help it really steam its way in there. Okay, that guy with the lid on is going to go in there next to our turkey, which I'm going to take a peek at. Ooh. It sure smells like sweet potatoes in there. Okay, those are in the oven. We need to get rolling. I've still got a million things to do. Why have I given myself so many things to do today? Pot filled with cold water. Run our water cold, filled with cold water. Because I want mashed potatoes. But we don't put it on to boil yet. Instead, we get out our potatoes, which I'm going to use up. Even though they're a little bit sprouty, we'll just cut away the sprouty bits. They're a little bit sprouty, which is why I want to use them up. But that's fine, because you just go, boom, and that potato is no longer sprouty. Neither is that one. And neither is that one. And that one kind of wasn't already, but I'll take the tip off anyways. There, see? And they got little, okay. That one was a little bit sprouty still. Snap those off. That one was fine. That one was mostly fine. I don't want skins in my mashed potatoes, so we're skinning them. Which also helps with any sprouty bits I may have missed. If your potatoes are starting to go sprouty, like mine are, or were, it's best to cut the sprouty bits away and use them up as quickly as you can. The sproutiness will just spread. And it will also encourage the other potatoes to start going sprouty nearby as well, because they produce hormones as they grow. And the other potatoes will pick up on those hormones and start to grow. If they're fully like growing and you're getting tendrils coming out of them, not just those little sprouts, don't eat them. Especially if the potato part of the potato, the flesh part, has started to turn green, they're going to be starting to go toxic on you. The leafy parts of the potato are poisonous. And sometimes you just don't even bother with peeling an end like that, because you just take it off and you call it a day. Okay. I have not purchased potatoes recently. These are obviously quite old. I hope that when I get back from my holiday trip, potatoes will still be on sale, because they have been recently, locally, £5 for $1. And I think that'd be a good price to stock up on some potatoes, especially since I just tapped out my potatoes. Okay, we're going for a mash, so these guys do need to be cooked through within a timely manner. So we'll cut them fairly smallish. The rule for boiling vegetables, if it grows above the ground, put it into boiling water. If it grows below the ground, put it into cold water and then bring it to a boil. I'm not sure why, but that has been repeated to me many a time by internet chefs who I believe were repeating it from other internet chefs who had said it in the past, and I have not bothered to look up the origins, so it could be a myth. But I'm going to stick to it and put my potatoes, which grow below the ground, into cold water, and then put that water on to boil with a pinch of salt. Okay. Turkey's in. Sweet potatoes are in. Regular potatoes are on the stove. Stuffing is in the oven. let's do the next bit. This is going to be right over on the stove. This is a fun trick that I learned we're going to make the cranberries. Whole cranberries. They come in these mesh bags, and they only ever come in one size, so I got all of them. The fun thing about them, if I can get this bag open, is you just kind of put them in a pot. Okay, well, you pick out any ones that look white, or the white ones aren't ripe. This one had a little brown spot on it. So you pick out any ones that look a little bit either underripe or not. It's just a blemish. That one's fine. That one's fine. Okay. There's always a couple, because of course they do them in a whole bunch at a time. So you just put them in a pot, naked like this, and put some heat on them. And the fun thing they do is they will pop. The skins are watertight. So the interiors will boil as they heat up, and then they will burst, and they'll just release into this pot their cranberry juicy interiors. And we don't even have to really think about them until they've started to do that. They'll go faster if I put the lid on, I think. So I'm gonna, but a spectacle. Gonna put some raisins in there with them. Okay. What else was I gonna make? Sweet potatoes, turkey, stuffing, regular potatoes, cranberries, gravy, which I have a plan for, assuming it's not gone weird on me. Aha, of course. We can't forget this thing. Let's come back over here. I've been working my way through this butternut squash for a while. The surface dries out whenever you take some off of it, but it is only skin deep. You can take a little thin sheet off of it. The rest of it is good, but I'm not going to let it go any longer. We're using up all of it today. And it is going to be my dessert. For which we need to take its guts out. The dessert is the thing that I came up with mostly on my own. And if it's good, I'll write a recipe for it. My scraps bowl. I'm going to get it handy so that I can scrap these guts into it. But before we get to the construction of the dessert recipe, the squash needs roasting. There you go. All I'm doing is scraping the cavity with a spoon. Oops. Knocking seeds all over the place. All I'm doing is scraping the inside of this little cavity here with a spoon to get the fibers that hold the seeds in place to let go. Because I don't want to eat the fibers and I don't want to eat the seeds. You could eat these seeds. They're pretty much just pumpkin seeds. I'm not going to bother today. I'm going to go pick up those seeds I dropped on the floor before I forget about them. Okay. Oop. Oh my. Also, welcome in. I haven't seen you for a while. You're exactly the same color as Felix on my screen, so I kind of blended you together. I need a baking container that can hold perfect. Perfect. We don't need to do anything with these because I will deal with them down the line. So I'm actually going to stick them right in the oven and have them roast along with things that are already in there. Let's come back over to our stovetop and look at our cranberries. Cranberries. And our potatoes, they're starting to boil. I don't know if you can see, there's wisps of steam coming up from in between the berries, and they're starting to make popping noises. Yeah, I told you. Butternut squash. That's for the dessert. We need to roast it off because we're making the dessert out of that. I told you a feast. I listed the things at the beginning. We're making turkey, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, a pumpkin pie dessert, cranberry sauce, gravy. It's a feast for one. Yes, there's going to be some leftovers, but I've barely eaten today. I had breakfast ages and ages ago, and it was noodles with one egg. So these will look like they're not doing much, but you'll start to hear them pop, and as they do, they will break down and start to form a juicy. Right, there's got to be some Thanksgiving leftovers. Even if you're making a feast for one, you got to have something left over. Because there's another thing. Because there is one more thing. Don't be fooled. I'm not done yet. Brussels sprouts. It's a feast. The goal here is to eat all of this before I go to sleep. It's a feast. What part of feast don't you understand? The Brussels sprouts are going to be sauteed. We'll take any creepy-ish leaves off and cut the little dried bits. They tend to get these little dried nuggets right on the end. I love Thanksgiving. It's a feast holiday. We don't have any other feast holidays in America. Christmas used to be a feast holiday, but now it's just a commercial nonsense holiday. I know. They're different, but I like that we have a proper feasting day, and I want to take advantage of feast times. And also, this is a show. This is for the show. For those of you following along at home, this is probably enough for two, all told. Stir our cranberries around. If we come back over here, you can see the cranberries near the bottom have exploded, releasing their luscious, juicy interiors. Like that one. Turn them down just a hair. I think they're cooking just a teensy bit faster than I was going for. But they turn into this sort of delightful sour mush. I'm gonna want that burner back in a minute, so I'm actually gonna move them to the back. Burner front here. I should have done this before I cut my Brussels sprouts, but I can do it now. We're coming back. I made the guy at the meat counter look very confused when I asked for, I would like 2 strips of your bacon, please. Who asks for 2 strips of bacon? Well, I ask for 2 strips of bacon. Because who doesn't love bacon? I know lots of people don't love bacon. There's a whole cohort of the non-bacon people. We're gonna bit-ice that bacon. It was a pretty fatty bacon, which is what I liked. And we're just gonna slap that in our pan and render it out, and that's gonna be our cooking fat for our sprouts. Which we will then cut in half each one. So, this is my traditional Thanksgiving. I know it's not everyone's because everyone seems to have a slightly different idea of what the traditional Thanksgiving is. What do you think I'm missing? I won't add it, but I'm curious to know what everyone thinks of as integral to Thanksgiving. Okay, my cranberries have largely exploded. They need some water to loosen them up. Lest they burn. I would use fruit juice for this, but I don't have any. If you have orange juice, that'd be a good addition there. Apple juice, pear juice. I know you're all running around with big bottles of pear juice at home. But we wanted to get them bursting before I added the extra water. And we'll get this bacon mostly rendered before I jump in with anything else. It's quite a bit of bacon, but it was also very fatty. It was mostly going to be bacon fat. And let's test our potatoes by stabbing one with a knife. They seem pretty tender to me. So we probably should get them out of there. Well, at the very least, turn the heat off. Get them out of there before they overcook. What the heck? A piece of my ceiling just fell into my water glass. That's not good. Huh. Let's take a peek at our things in the oven. Ooh. I should take the temperature of that turkey. Mustn't forget, there are also things roasting, and I didn't set any timers. I'm eyeballing it. Like a fool. But turkey skin's looking nice and crispy and brown on the top. We will take its temperature. With a tongs. With a tonges. Oops, you're on the wrong scene. All the action's over here, guys. It's not quite to temperature where I want it to be, so I'm putting it back in. But we're getting good browning on the top. I'm going to take the lid off of my stuffing and let the top start to crisp up. And let's drain ourselves a potato. Strainer. Actually, no. Before I get this strainer dirty, I don't need that strainer. I didn't think ahead, but I guess I subconsciously thought ahead because this pot is the one that has a strainer lid. So I can just strain it out directly. And then the potatoes can return. Our bacon is looking very, very ready to go. Now, the bacon is salty already, so I'm not going to salt my Brussels sprouts anymore yet. But I'm going to put them in and get them started. They'll take a hot couple of minutes. And we can pull out I'll bring that over here. this bowl because it's steel, so I can mash in the bowl or in the pot. Okay, so you start mashed potatoes by mashing the potatoes, and then you add some butter. And you mash that. I'm not going to make this super smooth mashed potatoes. We're going to go for a little bit of a chunkier. That's like cranberries. We'll just grab another spatula. Why not? Stiff spatula, please. We'll use a wooden spoon. So the butter will make it less of a crumbly mashed potato and more of a nice fluffy mashed potato. And I'm going to add one more dairy ingredient. Oop, can't get the lid open. I'm going to add a dash of heavy cream to this to really cream it up. Beautiful. Look at them taters. Get them off of my spoon. Give them a taste. Decide they need a pinch. And return them to the stove with a lid on so they don't cool off while I'm doing other things. Okay, Brussels sprouts are coming along. The cranberries. Now, I would taste the cranberries and tell you whether or not they needed something. But I don't have to, because cranberries, without anything in them, are so sour you can hardly eat them. They're also kind of one note. So I am going to... Now here's a trick. Here's a trick I learned from an online chef. So we'll come back up here and I'll show you the trick. So I'm going to zest this lime. But instead of zesting it from the top, I'm going to zest it from the bottom. Because you can see the zest forming, so you know how much you've got. You can see what part of the lime you're aiming for because it's on the top. It's just a neat idea. And I never thought of that. But of course that makes sense. This lime is one of the things I'm using up. It's slightly old lime. It was drying out a little bit. I don't think I'm going to use the juice for the cranberries because they are quite tart enough, but I want the zest. Come back over here. Add the zest, which I'll remind you, the zest does not have the sour elements of citrus in it. It is where all the flavors go. So we're making a lime flavored cranberry sauce. There's also some raisins in there, which are going to add a little bit of sweetness, but we need quite a lot more sweetness. So I'm just going to bring my sugar bowl over here and add several large pinches of sugar. Stir it in, give it a taste, and we'll see if it's always going to be tart because there's a lot of tartness in there. Toss these guys around. Okay, the Brussels sprouts are actually right on the edge of where I want them to be. So I'm going to temporarily ignore the cranberries and get out another ingredient because we aren't yet done adding stuff to this. Walnuts, which I'm going to add to two things today. I managed to put the sticker on the opening of the bag, like a fool. Walnuts. Walnuts in the Brussels sprouts. Which we're adding toward the end because walnuts can burn quite easily. Didn't want to put them in super early. You don't think of nuts as being something that'll burn easily, but they have a lot of oil in them. And the oil causes them to burn fairly easily. Toss them around in there. That's probably done-ish. Stir the nuts into the cranberries. Also the sugar that I put on top of them. And now I will give the cranberries a taste. And we will see how, oops, they're on the wrong side, how they're coming. They're hot, for one thing. They're still pretty sour. I'm going to add some golden syrup to them. Ooh, I've got multiple syrups. I could add different kinds of syrups. I've got... I'm not going to season them heavily. Okay. The Brussels sprouts, they need to come out of there and go into a dish. Because I think they're, well, rather than thinking they're done, let me give one a poke real quick. They've got a firmness to them still, but I think they're done enough for my taste. So we're going to pull them out real quick, toss them in a bowl, toss the scraps around them in a bowl. Grab one of my steel bowls, plunk it on the top, and move them out for service with the steel bowl, keeping them hot. Okay. You can move back to the front. Back burner can go off. Let's give this a taste since I added that syrup. Nice. Nice. Okay, that's coming out as well. Will that fit? That will not fit. It might fit. How deep? How deep are you? You're not that deep. I'm gonna eat part of it as well. I'm gonna see if I can get it in this bowl. Yes, it's gonna just fit. Oop. Let's put that guy right in the sink. I love cranberry jelly. That one's gonna just go on the table with its top down, because it wants to cool off a little bit before I dive in on it, anyways. Okay. You potatoes. That. Let's take a peek at our things. Here's our turkey with our sweet potatoes. We're taking its temperature. In 2 spots, just to be sure. Yes, okay. I think the turkey is done. It will need some time to rest. But I'm going to put it right onto the plate because I intend to have it be on my plate. So we'll have it rest, and I will get out a large bowl to also cover it. So that it doesn't cool off too much. The sweet potatoes should be done. Yeah, they're real nice and tender. They've got some drippings in the pan. A big chunk of which I am going to hazard is probably the butter, which I don't mind. Let's see if we can get them out of there without spilling them all over the place. Like I mentioned, the sweet potatoes needed less time than the turkey did, so they're a little bit over, but it was kind of unavoidable since I was using them as the trivet. There was no way to remove them without removing the turkey. They did, it looks like they picked up some little bits of turkey dripping, which was the idea, was the plan. I don't know if the skins went crispy. That was the other plan. I can taste. Mm. 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 Ooh, those are very good. Not to toot my own horn, but toot. Let's save our drippings and dispose of the extra. You're still too hot. So you're going to go in the sink to cool off. We will pop out another steel bowl to keep those guys warm. Okay, let's look at the stuffing. Oh. Ooh. The stuffing isn't my favorite thing in the world. I will tell you that right this moment. I didn't butter the pan, so it is kind of sticking around the edges. That's a definitely a mistake on my part. Should have greased the pan with some butter before I put them in there. It's also kind of wet still. It's also kind of wet still. The stuffing might not be coming out very good. Just a feeling. Just a... Come on, butter. Just a feeling. I'm going to add some butter now. Probably too late. To either end. And I'm going to put it back in. It's still too wet. This guy can't even get a hold of. Our squash probably should have gone in right at the start. It's pretty raw. Oh, I didn't taste it. Tastes like dressing. Probably won't leave it in there super much longer, but definitely a little bit more time. Squash needs more time. How do you speed up squash? You turn the temperature up on it. We're going to try to bring the temperature up on that squash. If the squash isn't soft enough to blend into like a pie filling, then that's going to be a hitch in our sitch. I don't know why I said that. I've never said that phrase before. because other things are going to start cooling off before I can get to it. That's not ideal. I do have another one. This one's going to be a little bit of a experiment. You may remember this stuff. I saved the extra. It's cauliflower puree. There's not a ton of it. But I was interested in its potential thickening properties. And you won't remember this because I don't think I pointed it out. Actually, we're going to find out together if it's still good. Smells fine. We have meat drippings in a bowl that I saved as well. This was from the what was it? It was a chicken of some sort, right? I can't even remember now. We're going to mix these together and cook them and see what it does. 100% experiment, just see what it does. We also might judge it up if it is too bland. Well, cold, it tastes slightly off. Once it heats up, I'll give it another taste. Pure experiment. I also kind of saved these ingredients for a little bit longer than I probably should have. So it's potential that it's just going to have an off flavor from having been in there. Tell you what, we'll put that on medium high on the small burner instead of medium on the large burner. Get this guy out of the way. Move a few more things. I made a lot of dishes. Say, take another peek at that dressing. I think. Ooh, it smells like something's going on in there. Pull this guy out. We might just have to admit that I made kind of wet dressing. Trying to make a small quantity of dressing is always going to be, I think, a bit of a challenge. The fact that it's trying to stick in the places where it's not wet makes me think that I'm not going to be able to do much about crisping it up. It also doesn't help that this... Yeah. Okay, I'm going to call that done because it's cooked. It tastes good. It's just kind of wet. But I don't want it to harden onto the pan. So I told you at the start, it's just wet bread. And indeed, it's wet bread. I was hoping for more of the crispy tops. But, oh well, here we are. That's coming to a boil. Grab another steel bowl for another top for another dish. Oh, moisten. Thank you. Moist. Okay. So much going on. That's not. Stir this and give it a taste now that it's hot and see what it is actually like. Interestingly, you can still taste the cauliflower. It needs something. It's kind of bland and it tastes like cauliflower. I'm gonna zhuzh it up with some stock concentrate, but I'm not gonna use a cube this time. This is stuck. I'm just gonna use this stock concentrate paste. I should be able to get it dissolved in there directly if I can get the jar open. Oh, shoot. Jar, what are you doing? Open. Okay. Your temperature goes down, so you'll stop spitting quite so much. Oh, jeez. I guess I haven't opened this one for a while. I'm taking a big dollop of that and just whack it in there. And leave it open. Oop, I popped over again. So that's just a chicken stock concentrate. And since it's a paste, it's easy to mix into something like this that's already most of the way cooked, as opposed to those solid ones, which I would want to dissolve in some water first. Give it a taste. Tastes like salty chicken stock. It's not an amazing gravy, but it's not gravy. I don't know. I'd go dousing everything on my plate with this gravy. I'm not going to throw it away, though. It's just a little bit. It's a little bit disappointing. That's how I'll describe that gravy. A little bit disappointing. Does anyone know how to speed up squash roasting? Because I think that's going to be the hitch in my table service right now. Should have started those first. I didn't think that was going to be a problem, but I should have put those in very first, before the turkey even, so that they had a time to fully roast out. I should have learned my lesson from other times I've done desserts. Always start the dessert first. Well, it only took us. It didn't even quite take me 2 hours. I thought this was going to take a billion years to do this many different things, and it has not done so. It has not even quite taken me 2 hours to get this far, and all I'm really doing now is waiting for the squash to roast. Frustratingly. I suppose I could take the squash out and cut it into smaller pieces, just so it would have more surface area to roast. I'm doing a little bit of side reading real quick. Um, when I say pumpkin pie from scratch, I mean from a whole pumpkin, please. This is pumpkin pie from scratch. Get a can of pumpkin pie filling. Okay, well, okay. Okay. Smaller pieces is the only solution I see. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Oh, it's getting there. This is what it looks like right now. It's expressing some liquid into the little bowl parts. If I poke it, it's definitely starting to soften. So actually, it's not looking so bad. I'm gonna put it back in. It's not looking so bad, actually. Okay. I did have one more element that I'm going to not show you and put away in the fridge because I forgot about it, and it would take some time at a. Yeah. We'll just hang on to that one. You didn't see anything. Everything looks good except for that, and lucky you, I have a plan today that's going to change how the end of show goes. So we might actually have time for our pumpkin dessert. Anyways, Let me tidy up a little bit before I do it. Let's hope this isn't a disaster. Taking all my things into the other room here. Let's serve myself some gravy in a little bowl. It sure looks like gravy. I'll give it that. It looks a little like weird gravy. Okay. I was hoping I'd have more people here at this stage. The crowd is kind of thinned out. But join me, won't you, on an adventure, a brief adventure, for which we will start by popping up my new screen. You'll be able to hear what I'm doing, even though you can't see. Okay. Okay. I'm still here. Normally, when people have a BRB screen, they have some background sound to go with it. Not so in my land, because I am a pleb. Let's see how this goes. Let's see how this goes. Oh, I forgot one thing. Sit tight. Hold tight. Yes, this one. Ooh, how embarrassing. How embarrassing. Okay. Bang. Oh. Bang. Turkey. mashed potato. That's what I forgot. It was still in its pot. Bacon, walnut, Brussels sprouts. Wet stuffing. Roast sweet potatoes with our turkey drippings. My fork, knife, spoon combo. For a nice big dollop of cranberry. And then we top it with slightly thickened gravy. Also, welcome to a different room. If you didn't notice, this is my trial run of this room. I noticed the camera, you guys, is got a weird color balance, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. But if I move you up a little bit, here I am. Let's, oops, not that one. Hide that one. And adjust the brightness on this. What the heck has happened with this? That's better. The color changed when I got up. Is it my red shirt that's making it freak out? It might be. I'm not sure what setting that is. Anyways, here we are. I'm a little bit too low still. I did adjust this beforehand, but I adjusted it for looking at the table, not my face. Hi. Hi. I don't know if this is what anyone wants from me, but here I am. I'll take one quick shot of this on the table here before I dive in, but this is our Thanksgiving. I don't have that much extra. You can see this is how my that look. Okay, we'll deal with the pictures later. Oh. But here we are. I've got a whole new perspective on things. I can eat these and talk to you, tell you about things. We can wait for the other thing to roast off. It was an experiment because I want to try to use this room for other things. Bacon walnut Brussels sprouts are excellent. The bacon is crispy, fatty. I didn't add any salt to those, and they don't need any salt. I like Brussels sprouts a lot too, so that's helping. Um, the walnut pieces are more of a textural element than a flavor. You can taste them when you get them by themselves. Ooh, okay. So by itself, this gravy has a little bit of that cauliflower flavor still that comes through on it. When you put it on stuff, the cauliflower starts to disappear real quick, and it just tastes more like gravy. That's a good sign. That means I can. This was an experiment to see if the pureed cauliflower would be effective as a thickener, and I'm going to say it is, because although it brings a little bit of its own flavor to the party, that flavor is mild enough that once you add it to something else, it's not fighting. Let's try my wet bread. The stuffing tastes very nice. Tastes like stuffing. I got a little crispy edge, so there are a few little crispy bits in there. It's mostly kind of a just sloppy wet thing, which isn't bad. It wasn't what I was going for. It's probably because, like you said, I used just dried bread instead of like baked croutons. So the bread soaked up a lot more of the liquid much more easily. We're working our way towards the turkey. I didn't forget about it. Working our way towards it. I can tell you this skin looks delightful. Well, let's grab some of these sweet potatoes. Mmm. Now those are lovely. Now those are lovely. They're soft, custardy in the middle. The skin is got just a little bit of chew to it. Little caramelized notes on the edges. Mmm. Some cranberry. Now the role of cranberry on the plate, as far as I'm concerned, is because heavy, fatty, starchy, heavy, fatty, starchy, heavy, etc., etc., etc. The cranberry gives you your acid. All right, I'm looking down at the plate instead of up at you. The cranberry gives you your acid that balances out the fact that this is such a heavy, fatty, starchy plate of food. Okay, we've worked our way around to it. Let's see if I can get the. Can you hear it? Nice, crisp skin. Oh, and it juices gush out when I poke it with the fork too. Ooh. Okay, this one's gonna be good. The skin is so crisp it comes off in a piece. Mmm. Okay, buttering the skin was a good idea. But let's try the main event, the turkey itself. Tastes like turkey. It's a little tougher than the dark meat on a chicken, which makes sense. It's a bigger critter. I picked the thigh not just because it's quite an economical piece, but also the thighs of a bird are very forgiving cook. I overcooked this a little bit. I can probably tell if I really compared it. If I'd done this to the white meat, the breast, it would have dried out. This is not dry. It's nice and juicy still. Even as it's toughened up a little bit, probably because I overshot it just a bit, it stayed nice and juicy. The butter helped as well. But yeah, this plate of food is a nice big pile. I've got one more serving of Brussels sprouts, probably not quite one of stuffing, and definitely not quite one more of mashed potato. The sweet potato is the only one that I really overshot on. The cranberry I severely overshot on because you can't buy them in smaller quantities than that. Sweet potato is the only one I really overshot on, and that's because I needed enough to perch the turkey on. Well, this is what they call a just chatting stream, I think. We should change my category for the first time ever. Change my category for the first time ever. Which is why I was hoping there'd be a few more people here at this. And we had a bit of a group earlier on, but I suppose it's the week of the holidays. People are trailing off. So what's new, people who have remained? I've told you about some of the things that are new with me. I was working on. You can't see it because I have the camera pointed away from it, but I was working on sealing up cracks in, and then sealing up my windows against the winter chill. They're all right there behind you. It's dark, so there's no sunlight coming in, but there's windows. If someone walked by, I could wave at them and they could see me talking to myself. That room back there, I had hoped to turn into a potential gaming space because it's close enough to my existing setup in the kitchen, which is just right there, that it wouldn't have to rerun a lot of the wires. Um, One thing you do have to be careful with when you're eating the thigh, especially of a turkey, they've got a few little tendons in there that are noticeable. On a chicken, you don't really notice them; they're so small. Turkey, you'll notice them. Mm. Um, as I mentioned before, I'm traveling for Thanksgiving holiday, and I will be not back in time. Well, technically, I think I'll be back in time. I could do something on Saturday, but I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to say I'll be occupied on Saturday. Mm. So, making this one extra long, extra exciting. I just got an alert. Did you hear the alert? I hope you didn't hear the alert, but maybe. Oh, well, bye. This is my first attempt at just chatting, so we'll see if anybody hangs out and chats while I'm eating. But enjoy. I'll be seeing you shortly, so I'm not sure what else to talk about. I don't really have anything planned. I wanted to create this spread, um, and I did initially. I wasn't going to sit here and just eat and chat the whole time because I'm not. I don't know if anyone wants to see that. Um, but since we're waiting on the squash for the dessert, I've got some time to kill. I'll tell you about what I'm planning for the squash. All right, look over here because that's where chat is. I should be looking right there because that's where you are. Um, the plan for the squash is to puree it like you would when you're making a pumpkin pie. So I need to roast it off until it's soft enough to hit with a stick blender and turn into a puree. And then I want to combine that with whipped cream to make a pumpkin pie mousse. And that was the plan. It sounds good to me. I've never heard of such a thing. It's a invention of my own brain based on the knowledge that pumpkin puree is a pretty good thickener. Because normally you make a mousse with egg as your stabilizer and whipped cream and sugar and flavor. Um, mm. This is delicious. This is my traditional Thanksgiving spread, um, except for the roast sweet potatoes, which are a special edition. I know everyone has something slightly different in their traditional ideal spread. Um, I've always had Brussels sprouts. I know a lot of people don't like them. Sorry, talking with my mouth full. Mm. I know a lot of people don't like them, and a lot of people don't like them from experiences in their childhood. But if you haven't had them for a while, give it a try. The breeders that have been raising them have been improving the flavor and reducing the bitterness, and I think they're very, very nice now. Obviously, the bacon and the walnuts helps a lot too, but I think they're very good by themselves. I'm not hiding the Brussels sprouts in bacon and walnuts. I'm accenting the Brussels sprouts with bacon and walnuts. So I haven't drowned them in any sort of sauce. They're still nice, solid pieces in there. I mean, all I did is cut them in half. It's hard to avoid the fact that they are Brussels sprouts. Hmm. One of those tendons I was talking about. So that is going to be the one downside to selecting a thigh. The upsides are it's economical and it's very forgiving to cooking. You can overshoot it and it doesn't ruin it. Obviously, don't burn it, but you can overshoot it by a bit and it won't ruin won't ruin the meat. The downsides are there's a big bone right through the middle of this thing, and it's got a few little tendony bits. They won't hurt you, but you have to kind of eat around them. When I was a little kid, I would never have tolerated a plate like this where everything is touching. Everything had to be isolated. Now, I like the individual flavors, but I don't mind if I get overlaps like so. Mm. Mm. That's a good cranberry sauce. Last time I made cranberry sauce, I put a lot of spices into it. And I think I overdid it. It was an attempt to make it palatable for someone who told me they didn't like cranberries, full stop. I was like, oh, I can make you like cranberries. I was making cranberry sauce, and I'll go nuts with the added flavorings. But for my own palate, simple is the way to go. This is cranberries, sugar, and lime, and then the walnuts are just kind of a crunchy element in there. Mm. Well, it's been a very. I was a little worried in the transition over to this room. That's what I had to puzzle out was how to do a transition from the kitchen to the dining room. I made the transitionary screen so that you wouldn't see me lugging it over with the cameras all flying around. But I had to figure out how to do it without unplugging it, and that was what the puzzle was. I think I worked it out, and I actually dropped no frames in the process. So I call that a success, knowing that I can attempt things like this in the future. Because I would like to, if I want to move from one thing to another thing, not shut the stream down in the middle and then start it back up. I'd prefer a nice continuous stream. Well, just got my apron on. I suppose if anyone in the YouTube VODs got this far, hello from hello YouTube VOD land. I hope everyone's having a lovely Thanksgiving. If you're not able to meet family, I hope I've inspired some relatively easy home feasting options. You'll have some leftovers. You'll have some delicious food. You'll have a nice big plate. And it didn't. I was actually worried it was going to take me super duper long. But since I'm not doing a whole turkey, this doesn't take nearly as long to roast. I diced up the sweet potatoes. They didn't take very long to roast. The only thing I forgot about was the squash. And if I had diced that up, actually, it wouldn't have taken that long either. Because I was doing a whole halves like that. Whole halves like that. Obviously, halves aren't whole. But yeah. So one of my ideas, and now that I've got this room kind of ready to go for it, we could maybe give it a try. Was I've seen some Lego building streams, and this would be an ideal space for that. Nice big table. I think I need a better light, but this isn't terrible lighting. the color balance is off. Its red balance is wonky. This camera I got at Goodwill for $7. So considering that, it's excellent picture. I also need to put something over here so we don't have this big white space. And then that hallway leads to the herb garden, which is in my front window. We're not going to visit the herb garden because it's in the front window, and it would be a very easy to dox myself if I were to show off my front window. A lot of the time when I make roast bird, I don't like the skin. It ends up pallid. For this one, I would hazard the skin might be the best part. Let's gravy up that turkey. Oop. Feel like I might be down to just the bots. Oh, well, I recognize some of those names. I won't call you out, but I recognize some of those names. So thank you, lurkers. You are appreciated. This really is quite the feast too. I suppose if you were following along at home and you're not ravenously hungry, skip any one of the elements. That doesn't seem like it appeals to you because there's plenty else to go around. And overall, this would have been enough food for two pretty handily. I said I was cooking for one. It's hard to cook for one. I should say, it's hard to cook for one with no leftovers. If you don't care how many leftovers you've got, it's easy to cook for one. Just cook a whole bunch. But what I've got here is a feast for one plus leftovers, or a feast for two without leftovers. I'm gonna have to listen back to this one because I don't know how this is coming across. I hope the chewing isn't what's so terrible right now. I know some people are put off by chewing noises, and I'm making no attempt at ASMR. Uh, you guys hold on a sec. I'm gonna go poke the squash with a knife and see how tender it's gotten. Very tender. Extreme tender. That's a good sign. That means we can probably get in there and start to prep our dessert. I wonder if I could do it right here. We'll have to move some stuff. We'll have to move some stuff. Switch my category back. Let's see. I need the. What was that? It occurs to me that room is kind of echoey too. I need an appropriate container for this. Or a stick blender. Should put my BRB up since I was going to be here for a hot second. Okay. We're back. We're back. There's the squashes. There's a metal bowl. They are too hot to handle at the moment, which I should have thought about. But they are very soft. The knife just glides through them, no resistance at all. Where did I put that? Did I seriously throw the pot holder in the other back in here? Why did I do that? Okay, so we're going to get these squash out of here. The pan actually cools down pretty quickly compared to the squash part. Not quite letting go. I think what I need is a tong to hold on to it with while I scoop it out. Thankfully, I've got one of those right here. Right here and handy. So if you pumpkin pie, a classic pumpkin pie is essentially a custard mixed with pumpkin, and then baked until the custard sets. And the role of the pumpkin in this pie is to add calories and the color orange. Honestly, I don't know that it's. I don't really like pumpkin pie. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin pie. I don't hate it, but I'm not gonna go out of my way for it. And I'm also going to be honest and say I'm not a big fan of pie crust in general. I think the crust is the weakest part of the pie. Sure, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, I'm here for the filling, and the crust is a vessel. Because people don't put any effort into their crusts, and they're not good. So my concept kind of here is pumpkin pie without the crust and also without the eggs. That's kind of what we're shooting for. We are going to definitely have to hit this with the stick blender. I don't think I'm going to be able to mash this effectively without it. We'll just leave the skins in there. And this pan is already cool enough to just handle with my hand. The pan cools off real quick. It's the stuff itself that stays hot. Okay. Oh, I don't think I can do it in here. I think we have to bring it back into the kitchen. Unfortunate. I should have just done it in the kitchen because there's no way I can use the stick blender here in the dining room. So we're gonna BRB again. And head back in there so that I can attempt our dessert. Oh, trapped my cord. Okay. Trip over things at this rate. Okay. Well, I'll be able to look back and see on the VOD how that experiment in the other room went, how bad the echo is, all that nonsense. Get us back over here. That camera is frozen. And now it's back. Okay. Here's our bowl of hot pumpkin puree that's not yet been pureed. It's a lot of the way there, actually. It's pretty soft. We weren't actually that far off of the successful roasting of the squash when I went to serve myself dinner. So if I had started it right at the beginning, I could have done this in one smooth motion. So for those of you following along at home, go all the way back to the beginning and start your puree before you start the turkey. Here's our stick blender. You may remember this from when I used it on the cauliflower. This time I'm using it in a bowl that is not meant for it, and we will see if it makes a mess. Tell you what it is, it's hard to use one-handed because there's a lock button on the top and it won't run unless the lock button is there. We go. Okay. It's still warm. But we didn't make a huge mess, and it, aside from a few little strings that got away, I think we've got a mostly pureed pumpkin goo. It needs no more cooking at this point, so I'm not even going to bother with the other camera. I'm pretty sure the other camera feed is just frozen at this point. Yes. So we're just going to ignore that one. In fact, let's just put it to sleep. How's this stuff taste? Pumpkin-y. Be careful trying to get this stuff out of the blades. They are sharp, but only on one side, so you can get behind them and push them around. But be sure you know which side that is before you do it, or you'll end up with bloody pumpkin pie. Because those guys are sharp. Kind of pushes out between the holes, too. It tastes good. It tastes very pumpkin-y. This is why I always, and I've said this, I think I've said this before, whenever there's something I want to do with pumpkin, I just get a butternut squash. They taste the same. They're much easier to find, much easier to cook, and have much thinner skin. Like the pumpkin off my fingers. It tastes pretty good. Pumpkin, to which we add our pumpkin spices. Ground cinnamon, ground clove, which I don't use much of, so it's in here somewhere. See all the tops of the little spices coming out. That's more cinnamon. I don't have ground clove. I have ground allspice. Allspice is one of them. Tarragon, cardamom, dill. We don't want dill. That's not the one. Powdered ginger. There's the cloves. Powdered clove. And the one I don't have, nutmeg. Only got that in whole. Whole spices keep longer and taste better, but you do have to process them before you can use them, typically with some kind of grinder or grater. I have whole of all of the other ingredients as well. This is already taking longer than I was expecting, so I was feeling a little lazy. That chunk out of there. Mix this in thoroughly. And taste. Okay, the fresh nutmeg is jumping out compared to all the dried spices. I'm going to give it some sugar because we are making a dessert out of this. But yeah, go easy on the nutmeg if you're using fresh nutmeg compared to. Yeah, okay. I went a little hard on the nutmeg. We can balance it with just a touch of everything else, but I don't want to go too hard. Especially on that allspice. Which one of you was the cinnamon? That one was the cinnamon. Okay. Okay. That's half of my dessert, and it's cooled off quite a bit in the process of all this mixing. So let me take a moment to put all these extra spices back. Okay. 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 Nope. Even more room. I need to clear some of my spices because I've got more than I use regularly. And dried spices don't keep forever, so if you've got stuff that you're just not using, then you're probably just going to not use it until it goes bad. Getting out this bowl, because the other half of this project is whipped cream. A goodly amount. which I know. I was about to use more granulated sugar. I'm going to throw some powdered sugar in this beastie. I've got it because I use it for certain recipes, and I just don't use it for anything except when it calls for. But it needs some sweetness, and that should help it to thicken up too. Maybe? Question mark? A dash of vanilla as well. Let's try the hand whisk. Slopping it already. Going with the hand whisk because I don't want to get another thing dirty, another machine dirty. And the whisk attachment on this guy isn't great. Also, I have eaten a ton of calories today, and I need to burn some of them off. Okay, you need to move. Oops. At this rate, I'm going to spill more of it than I actually use for the dessert. So the sugar is extremely hygroscopic, so it soaks up water. Powdered sugar is super, 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 super fine grained, so it has lots of surface area, it dissolves super quickly, and soaks up water. Removing some water from the mixture by putting it into the sugar should, in addition to sweetening this, help it to thicken faster. You can also do that with a little dash of, let's see, they don't do a little dash of acid, that'll curdle it. Probably just sugar. I think, yeah, just a little bit of that powdered sugar should help us thicken this and should help it be a little bit more stable at the end. Still, definitely some elbow grease involved. Whipped cream is a bit of a workout. Ooh. I haven't done this for a while, so my arm's not ready for it either. Should be doing this every day. And then you'd have really jacked arms. I've said it before. Never get into a fist fight with a patissier. They will mess you up. Their arms are jacked. I also wish I was ambidextrous and I could just switch. Well, it feels awkward and it feels awkward, but I don't think that matters to the cream. Obviously can't do it as fast in that direction. At least it gives my right arm a little bit of a rest. Whew. We're nearly there. You can see it's forming, it's thickening up. We're not quite to soft peaks, but we're close. So another reason I thought of doing this, when I do have pumpkin pie, which isn't often, it's usually just one slice at Thanksgiving. I load it up with whipped cream, and I often think while I'm eating it that the whipped cream is the best part of it. So this time, I'm just making it with just the pie filling and the whipped cream, and more of the whipped cream. Stiff peak. Stiff peak achieved. And then we want to fold these together. I'm going to take a bit of my pumpkin puree. And by fold together, I mean I'm going to blend it in. Okay. That's all of it. I'm actually going to fold it in now, not just keep whisking. Because it went a little lumpier than I was expecting with that first round. Give it a taste. Ooh. Oh, that's very good. Oh, that's very good. Oh, that's very good. Let's get that served. And then I will do a formal wrap-up. I'm going to serve it in this fancy cocktail glass. And I don't really have a way to make it less lumpy appearing. It tastes very nice. Okay. That one's going to be my photo. I'll tell you about this now, now that I've gotten it plated or glassed. It's very light. It's surprisingly very, very light. Whipped cream obviously is full of air and whipped. The pumpkin puree by itself was over-spiced and very dense and heavy. And I thought it was going to really drag down this whipped cream. But it's a lovely, subtle pumpkin pie flavor coming through in this light, this is very much like a light mousse. As you can see, it holds its shape. It stands up in the glass, which is impressive. I can pick it up and it'll fall. It's not like it's stiff, but it's got a lot of body. It holds itself up. It's lovely. It's a lovely light pumpkin pie flavor with a sweet whipped cream finish. And I've never even heard of that before. That was 100% an experiment. And I'm going to call that a success. The thickening power of pumpkin has succeeded. Wow, I just went over 3 hours. That counts the time I spent in the other room just eating with you guys. But let's go see who's on. I'm not usually on this late. So we can poke our noses into who knows what. I could go raid Bopper. If anybody's in chat and you've got a suggestion where I should raid, jump in. I am going to wrap the stream up here. I'm just clicking a raid. I had fun today. I I hope you guys had fun too. It's always hard to gauge when when there's not a ton of chatter going on. But I hope there was some enjoyment. I hope you learned something. I had a good time. I hope the segment in the other room wasn't some kind of horrible nightmare. I've never rated Bopper. I've never rated Slay. Slay is playing Farm Simulator. Or we could go see LaFay. Or we could go see Billy. I'm gonna go see LaFay. Pop you up to the big camera. Well, as mentioned, I won't be here on Saturday. We may try a different day to make up for it, but otherwise, expect me next Tuesday, following the holiday. And I don't know if you can see from here. You can't quite tell. I've got a lot to clean up. I made a mess. We made a disaster today. So I got a lot of work to do now, especially since I'm leaving tomorrow morning. So this is all got to be done tonight. So yeah, thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out. I guess I'm going to just jump us right over to LaFay right now.